What is a 5 why and how does it work? First and foremost, a 5 why event or tool is utilized for root cause analysis. What does that mean? When there is a problem to solve, in order to effectively solve it and implement a preventative measure, you need to understand what the root cause of that particular problem was. When utilized correctly, a 5 why tool or event is going to result in less defects or nonconformances and a lower overall cost of quality throughout your operation. It will also help you improve your processes and systems. A 5 why tool or event can be used in both internal and external nonconformances. Typically, I would suggest that you start off with internal nonconformances with a 5 why tool just because it is a little bit faster and easier to implement, whereas an external nonconformance may require some additional people to be involved and also may require some additional work around corrective and preventative actions. So before we dive into how it actually works, I want to cover the most common failure points that you're going to come across as you work through a 5 why tool or event. First and foremost, you have equipment failures. This is kind of the easiest and most easily identified failure point. Think broken or worn out parts, ultimately creating some type of quality nonconformance. The next two failure points often get confused with each other. First one being system failure points. Now, a system failure point is either process or technology related. So either a process or the technology, the underlying technology has actually failed. The easiest way to think about this is a process or technology exists and either someone didn't follow the process or the actual technology failed in some sense. That would be considered a system failure. The third failure point is going to be a human failure point. This is simply when there is no system, there is no process, there is no technology in place, and so somebody is reacting to a situation, thus creating a process or series of processes resulting in a system, but still resulting ultimately in a quality nonconformance. So how does a 5 why tool or event actually work? I break it down into a 5-step process. Step number 1, you've got to collect all possible information when it comes to the nonconformance or defect that we are trying to solve a problem around. So what exactly happened? When did it happen? What was the scale of the actual problem? What was the risk to the customer? Step 2, create a team. When you create a team, I like to involve people from the department that we believe the nonconformance was created in, as well as people from the department immediately preceding and immediately following. Now, the reason that we involve people from the department directly before and directly after the department we believe to be responsible for creating the nonconformance is the fact that it's their genuine curiosity, it's their interest in asking why types of questions that allows for the people closest to the process to start to generate ideas as to what exactly happened and taking it further, how we can prevent it from happening in the future. Step 3, we've got to clearly define the problem. This can be sometimes tricky because often we don't dive deep enough to clearly define the problem. This is a time that you do not want to leave your problem statement as surface level. Step 4, we start asking why questions. Now, it's called the 5 whys, but in reality, it could be 3 whys, it could be 7 whys. The number of whys does not matter nearly as much as understanding, have we identified the actual failure point? Have we identified the specific system, the specific piece of equipment, the specific technology that has failed and resulted in a particular nonconformance or defect that we are trying to address? The other part of asking why questions is to identify countermeasures or preventative action measures that we can ultimately implement to solve this particular nonconformance or defect. Step 5 is when we actually choose and implement a preventative action or countermeasure. And the most important part is going and auditing, going to inspect what you expect. Once a preventative action has been implemented and the entire team that touches that process has been trained, the most important aspect is to go and see. Make sure that the process and that the preventative action that was implemented is being followed. This is an opportunity for you to test the system. And by test the system, I mean introduce failure into the system to see if that preventative action measure is actually identifying and stopping the nonconformance from happening again. Now let's get into an actual example. This example comes from a print manufacturing business where they were experiencing print misregistration on a particular type of material, happened to be plastic material on a plastic liner, and it was an intermittent issue that created a quality nonconformance for a subset of this particular print run. Detailed problem statement. Intermittent print misregistration when printing on plastic material with plastic liner. Now we dive into the questions. What can cause intermittent print misregistration on this particular type of material? Answer: the material is stretching. Question: why is the material stretching? Answer: it could be the turn bars, it could be the in-feed press tension, it could be excessive heat in the web. Next series of questions. Why could the turn bars be creating drag? Answer: the web path could be off, or maybe the turn bars need additional maintenance. Now we move to the in-feed press tension. Why could the in-feed press tension be creating material stretch? Answer: because it's a manual adjustment. Back to excessive heat. Why could excessive heat be creating material stretch when printing on this particular material? Answer: the run speed could be too low as compared to the curing lights being used. Why would the run speed and the curing lights create an issue with material stretching? Answer: because it's based on operator experience and or the surface of that particular material could be creating an issue where you have to run the piece of equipment low with the lights higher, thus creating excessive heat. So you can see how as we start asking questions, additional why questions are being generated to continue to dig down and get to the potential root cause of the particular nonconformance or defect that we're trying to address. So where do we go from here? Based on this 5 why, we have identified 2 potential failure points, both equipment, when we talk about turn bars and potential maintenance, even the manual adjustment of in-feed tensions, and also system failures. We've not identified any human failures in this particular 5 why. So as we get into the countermeasures or preventative actions to address the root causes that we have identified, we are kind of left with 3. First, we could create a process that includes a reference document for press speed, the light power, and also the material that we are running and experienced a quality nonconformance with. Second, we could implement a monitoring and maintenance process or system to address the potential root cause of the turn bars needing maintenance. Third, we could investigate some type of auto-adjusting press tensioning mechanism so we can address the manual adjustment of the press tension. The decision around what root cause and what countermeasure or preventative action we are going to ultimately implement comes down to the team that you've put together to go through your 5 why event. You want to rely on the experts in the room, the people closest to the process, and the people that are next to the process to be going through this particular exercise and landing on what the most likely root cause and what the most likely countermeasure is going to be implemented to address the nonconformance that you are working on correcting. As I mentioned previously, the most important part once those decisions have been made is not only training everybody and reviewing the process changes necessary, but beyond that, it is really going and auditing what is happening on an ongoing basis to ensure that that nonconformance or defect has actually been resolved. If you're getting any value from these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe.